November 28, 2012, outside the iconic Empress Hotel in Victoria, British Columbia. A young woman stands barefoot on the cold pavement, visibly distressed. A concerned citizen calls 911. Police arrive and spend 45 minutes talking with her. They assess her mental state, determine she's not a danger to herself or others, and let her walk away into the night. That woman was 26-year-old Emma Fillipoff. She was never seen again. What happened in those hours after police let her go? Where did Emma disappear to? And why, more than 13 years later, does her case remain one of Canada's most baffling missing persons mysteries? Emma Fillipoff wasn't from Victoria originally. She grew up in Perth, Ontario, a small town with that quintessential Canadian charm, where everyone knows everyone, and life moves at a gentler pace. By all accounts, Emma was creative, intelligent, and deeply thoughtful. She had dreams like any young person in their 20s, that restless energy to explore the world and figure out who she was meant to be. In the fall of 2011, Emma made a decision that would change everything. She packed up her life and moved across the country to Victoria, British Columbia. For those unfamiliar with Victoria, it's a beautiful city on Vancouver Island, known for its mild climate, stunning ocean views, and a certain bohemian charm that attracts artists, dreamers, and people looking for a fresh start. Emma was looking for exactly that, a fresh start, a new chapter, a chance to reinvent herself on the other side of Canada. When Emma arrived in Victoria, she did what many young people do when they land in a new city. She found work, she explored, she tried to build a life. She got a job at Redfish Bluefish, a popular seafood restaurant right on the waterfront. If you've ever been to Victoria's Inner Harbor, you might have seen it, a bright blue shipping container converted into a takeout spot serving fresh, local seafood. It's the kind of place where tourists line up for fish and chips while seagulls circle overhead and street performers entertain the crowds. Emma worked there through the busy season, serving customers, making tips, living that precarious but exciting life of a young person in a new city. But here's the thing about seasonal work in a tourist town, it doesn't last forever. On October 31st, 2012, Halloween, Emma's job at Redfish Bluefish ended for the season. The tourist crowds had thinned, winter was coming, and suddenly Emma found herself without steady income in an expensive city far from home. What happened next is where Emma's story takes its first dark turn. Unbeknownst to her family back in Ontario, Emma had been staying at a women's shelter in Victoria since February of 2012. Think about that timeline for a moment. She'd been in the shelter for 9 months before she disappeared, and her family had no idea. She was calling home, talking to her mother, but never mentioned where she was actually living. Why would a young woman hide this from her family? Was she ashamed? Was she trying to protect them from worrying? Or was something else going on, something she couldn't or wouldn't explain? Her mother, Shelley Fillipoff, would later say that Emma had seemed different in the months before her disappearance, but not in ways that screamed danger. She seemed stressed, maybe a bit scattered, but what 26-year-old isn't stressed sometimes? As November 2012 progressed, Emma's behavior became increasingly strange. Security footage from the YMCA in Victoria captured something deeply unsettling. The videos show Emma entering and exiting the building multiple times in rapid succession, as if she was checking to see if someone was following her, or perhaps trying to avoid someone she'd seen inside. She'd walk in, look around, walk back out, wait, then try again. It's the kind of behavior that makes your skin crawl when you watch it, because it speaks to a level of fear or paranoia that goes beyond normal caution. Was Emma being followed? Did she have reason to believe someone was watching her? Or was her mental state deteriorating in ways that made her perceive threats that weren't really there? Then there were the phone calls to her mother. Emma would call Shelley and say she wanted to come home, that she was ready to leave Victoria and return to Ontario. Shelley would make arrangements, start planning, feel that relief that her daughter was coming back. But then Emma would call again and change her mind. She'd say she wasn't ready, that she needed to stay in Victoria a bit longer, that she had things to figure out. This pattern repeated itself multiple times in the weeks before her disappearance. Imagine being Shelley, riding that emotional roller coaster, never quite sure what your daughter was thinking or feeling, sensing that something was wrong, but not knowing how to help. November 28, 2012 started like any other day, but it would end in a way that would haunt everyone who knew Emma. That morning, Emma went to a 7-Eleven convenience store. Security footage shows her purchasing a prepaid cell phone. Nothing too unusual about that. Lots of people use prepaid phones. But witnesses who saw her that day said she seemed nervous, on edge, constantly looking around as if expecting someone to appear. She also purchased a $200 prepaid card, a significant amount of money for someone staying in a shelter. What was she planning? Was she about to run? Was she preparing for something? At 6 o'clock that evening, Emma left the women's shelter. She called a taxi and gave the driver an address, the Victoria International Airport. Now this is interesting. If you're planning to fly somewhere, you usually have a ticket, a plan, some idea of where you're going. But Emma didn't seem to have any of that. The taxi ride to the airport costs money, and Emma had that $200 prepaid card in her possession. But here's where the story gets strange. Before reaching the airport, Emma asked the driver to stop. She got out of the taxi, claiming she didn't have enough money for the fare. The driver later confirmed this to police, but Emma had that prepaid card. She had money. So why did she get out? Did she change her mind about leaving? Did she see something or someone that scared her? Or was the airport never really her destination at all? What happened in the next hour or so is unclear, but somehow Emma made her way to the inner harbor, to the area right in front of the Empress Hotel. The Empress is Victoria's most famous landmark, a grand old hotel that looks like a castle, all lit up at night, overlooking the harbor. It's a busy area, even in late November, with people walking by, cars passing, life happening all around. And it was there, in front of all those people, that Emma's story reached its most frustrating and heartbreaking moment. A man named Dennis Key was in the area around 7:15 or 8 o'clock that evening when he noticed Emma. She was barefoot, despite the cold November weather. She appeared distressed, agitated, not quite right. Concerned for her well-being, Dennis did what any good citizen would do. He called 911. Police arrived relatively quickly, and they did their job exactly as they're trained to do. They spoke with Emma for 45 minutes. 45 minutes. That's not a brief interaction. That's a substantial conversation. They assessed her mental state, asked her questions, tried to determine if she was a danger to herself or others. And at the end of those 45 minutes, they made a decision that would be questioned and analyzed and second-guessed for years to come. They determined that Emma was not a threat. She was an adult, she had the right to go where she pleased, and they had no legal grounds to detain her. So they let her go. They watched her walk away into the night, barefoot, and that was the last confirmed sighting of Emma Fillipoff. While Emma was having her encounter with police outside the Empress Hotel, her mother Shelley was on her way to Victoria. Emma had called her earlier, once again saying she wanted to come home, and this time Shelley had decided to come get her daughter herself. She arrived at the women's shelter at 11 o'clock that night, her heart probably full of hope that she'd finally be bringing Emma home. But Emma wasn't there. The staff told Shelley that Emma had left hours earlier. They shared something else too, something that still haunts Shelley to this day. The last words Emma had said before leaving the shelter were, "I don't know how I can face you." What did she mean? What was Emma so ashamed of or afraid of that she couldn't face her own mother? Was it simply the embarrassment of living in a shelter? Or was there something darker, something she'd done or something that had been done to her? In the days following Emma's disappearance, police began their investigation, and what they found only deepened the mystery. Emma's van was located in a parkade, a parking garage in downtown Victoria. Inside that van was essentially Emma's entire life. Her passport was there, which meant she hadn't left the country, at least not legally. Her laptop was there, her camera, her clothes, library books she'd checked out. Everything you'd need if you were planning to continue living your life was sitting in that van. People who disappear voluntarily usually take something with them, some essential items, some connection to their former life. But Emma had left it all behind. It was as if she'd simply evaporated, walking away from everything she owned with nothing but the clothes on her back. Remember that prepaid phone Emma had purchased at the 7-Eleven that morning? Police tracked it down, and here's another strange detail. It was never activated. Emma had gone to the trouble of buying a prepaid phone, presumably for some purpose, but she never turned it on, never made a single call. Why buy a phone you're never going to use? Was she planning to use it but something prevented her? Did someone stop her before she could activate it? Then there's the matter of Emma's credit card. According to reports, her credit card was allegedly found on the side of a road somewhere in the Victoria area. A stranger found it and instead of turning it into police, decided to use it to buy cigarettes. When police eventually tracked down this person, they claimed they'd simply found the card and saw an opportunity. There's no evidence this person had anything to do with Emma's disappearance, but it raises questions. How did Emma's credit card end up on the side of the road? Did she drop it? Did someone take it from her and discard it? It's another puzzle piece that doesn't quite fit anywhere. For 2 years, Emma's case remained frustratingly stagnant. Her family kept searching, kept raising awareness, kept hoping for any lead that might bring her home. Then, in 2014, something bizarre happened that gave everyone a jolt of hope, even though it ultimately led nowhere. A man was caught on camera in Vancouver, about an hour and a half from Victoria by ferry, tearing down one of Emma's missing person posters. That alone might not be too unusual. People tear down posters for all sorts of reasons. But this man, who became known in the case as Green Shirt Man because of what he was wearing, said something that stopped everyone in their tracks. He told the person filming him that Emma wasn't missing at all. He claimed she was his girlfriend, that she'd run away from her parents, and that she didn't want to be found. He seemed angry that people were looking for her, insistent that she was fine and living her life. The video of Green Shirt Man went viral in the true crime community. Finally, a lead, someone who claimed to know where Emma was. Police investigated, the public tried to identify him, but despite the clear video footage, Green Shirt Man was never identified. He vanished just as mysteriously as Emma had. Was he telling the truth? Did he really know Emma? Or was he just some disturbed individual inserting himself into a tragedy for attention? If he really was Emma's boyfriend and she was alive and well, why didn't Emma herself come forward to tell her family she was okay? Why let them suffer for years? It doesn't add up, and most investigators believe Green Shirt Man was either delusional or lying, but without identifying him, there's no way to know for sure. 4 years after that, in 2018, another potential lead emerged. A man named William came forward to police with a story that, if true, could be significant. William claimed that on the morning after Emma disappeared, November 29, 2012, he was driving in Esquimalt, a municipality right next to Victoria, when he saw a young woman who appeared to need help. Being a good Samaritan, he stopped and offered her a ride. According to William, this woman matched Emma's description. He said he drove her somewhere, dropped her off, and didn't think much of it until years later when he saw Emma's missing person poster and realized the woman he'd picked up might have been her. Why did William wait 6 years to come forward? He said he didn't make the connection until he saw an updated poster with an age progression image. Police investigated his claim, but without more concrete details or evidence, it's impossible to confirm whether the woman William picked up was actually Emma. If it was her, where did he take her? Where did she go after that? And why has there been no trace of her since? One of the most poignant aspects of Emma's case is her writing. Emma was a prolific writer, filling journals with poems and thoughts and observations about life. After her disappearance, her family shared some of these writings with police and with mental health experts, hoping they might provide clues about Emma's state of mind. What they found was evidence of depression, of a young woman struggling with dark thoughts and difficult emotions. But here's what's important. The experts who analyzed Emma's writing said that while she was clearly depressed, there was no indication of suicidal ideation. She wasn't writing about wanting to die or planning to harm herself. She was writing about pain, yes, but also about hope, about the future, about things she wanted to do. This is significant because one theory that's often raised in cases like this is suicide. But Emma's own words suggest that wasn't where her mind was. So what happened to Emma Fillipoff? The theories are numerous, and none of them feel quite right. Some people believe Emma was suffering from a mental health crisis, possibly experiencing paranoia or delusions, and that she wandered off and met with some kind of accident. Victoria is surrounded by water and wilderness, and it's possible for someone to disappear into the landscape and never be found. But Emma's behavior, while strange, seemed purposeful. She was buying prepaid phones, taking taxis, making plans. That doesn't sound like someone in the grip of a complete mental breakdown. Others theorize that Emma was running from someone or something. The security footage of her repeatedly entering and leaving the YMCA, her nervous behavior at the 7-Eleven, her cryptic comment about not being able to face her mother, all of this suggests fear. Was someone threatening her? Was she involved in something dangerous? There's no evidence of this, no known enemies, no obvious threats, but absence of evidence isn't evidence of absence. Emma might have been caught up in something her family knew nothing about. Then there's the theory that Emma chose to disappear, that she wanted to start over with a completely new identity. This happens more often than people think. Adults have the right to walk away from their lives, and some do. But Emma left behind her passport, her money, her possessions. Starting over is hard enough with resources. It's nearly impossible without them. And if Emma did choose to disappear, why? What was she running from? And how has she managed to stay hidden for over 13 years without a single confirmed sighting? The darkest theory, the one nobody wants to consider but everyone thinks about, is that Emma met with foul play, that someone harmed her that night after police let her go, that she's not missing by choice, but because someone took that choice away from her. Victoria is generally a safe city, but bad things can happen anywhere, especially to vulnerable young women alone at night. If this is what happened, where is Emma? Why has no evidence ever surfaced? Emma's family has never stopped searching. Her mother, Shelley, has become a tireless advocate, not just for Emma, but for all missing persons. She's worked to raise awareness about the gaps in how police handle cases of missing adults, especially when mental health might be a factor. She's pushed for better protocols, better training, better resources. Every year, on the anniversary of Emma's disappearance, Victoria Police release a statement reminding the public that the case is still open, still active, still hoping for that one piece of information that will crack it wide open. Age progression images have been created showing what Emma might look like now in her late 30s. These images are haunting because they force you to confront the passage of time. Emma isn't a 26-year-old woman anymore. If she's alive, she's aged, changed, lived 13 more years of life somewhere. Does she look like these age progression images? Is she out there somewhere, living under a different name, maybe even watching the coverage of her own disappearance? Or is the truth much darker? There's a docuseries in the works called Barefoot in the Night, a title that captures that last image of Emma, standing barefoot outside the Empress Hotel, about to walk into oblivion. The filmmakers hope that renewed attention might shake loose new information, might reach someone who knows something, might finally bring answers to a family that's been living in limbo for over a decade. What strikes me most about Emma's case is how many people saw her that last day, how many opportunities there were for intervention, for help, for someone to change the course of what happened. The taxi driver who took her toward the airport, the people at the 7-Eleven who sold her the prepaid phone, Dennis Key who called 911 out of concern, the police officers who spent 45 minutes talking with her. All of these people encountered Emma, saw that something wasn't right, and yet she still slipped through the cracks. This isn't about blaming anyone. The police followed their protocols, and you can't force an adult to accept help they don't want. but it's a reminder of how fragile the line is between safety and danger, between being found and being lost. Emma Fillipoff has been missing for more than 13 years now. Somewhere, there are answers. Someone knows something. Maybe it's someone watching this video right now. Maybe it's someone who saw Emma that night and didn't realize the significance of what they witnessed. Maybe it's someone who's been carrying a secret for 13 years and is finally ready to let it go. Emma's family deserves answers. They deserve to know what happened to their daughter, their sister, their loved one. They deserve to either bring her home or finally have closure. If you have any information about Emma Fillipoff's disappearance, please contact Victoria Police or Crime Stoppers. Even the smallest detail, something you might think is insignificant, could be the piece that solves this puzzle. Emma was a real person with hopes and dreams and people who loved her. She deserves to be more than a mystery, more than a true crime story. She deserves to be found. That's all for today. Don't forget to subscribe and be kind to each other.